Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to look at a topic that may seem a little bit surprising, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
We're talking mainframes.
Mainframes.
You got it.
Yeah.
Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, aren't those like these big old computers that take up entire rooms? Did those even survive the rise of the cloud and everything else?
Yeah, a lot of folks think mainframes are a thing of the past, a relic of a bygone era.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But what if I told you that not only are mainframes still around, they're actually thriving? And what's even more interesting is that understanding how mainframes work from an economic standpoint can actually be the key to unlocking some serious cost savings in today's world.
You're absolutely right. There are a lot of misconceptions about mainframes.
Right, for sure.
People picture these massive energy-guzzling machines that cost a fortune.
Right, giant blinking lights taking up a whole floor of a building.
Exactly, but that's not the whole story. The reality is far more nuanced than that.
Okay, so before we dive into all those nuances, let's make sure we're all starting on the same page here. What exactly is a mainframe in today's world? I mean, we've got cloud computing, we've got AI, we've got edge computing, all these different things happening. Where do mainframes even fit in?
So at their core, mainframes are essentially very powerful computers that are designed for two key things: extreme reliability and extreme security.
Okay, reliability and security, got it.
They're built to handle huge volumes of data and transactions, and they do it really, really well. We're talking about the kind of stuff that modern businesses really rely on. Things like banking systems, airline reservations, global supply chains, you name it. Anything where downtime just isn't an option or where a security breach would be a total disaster.
So it's kind of like the bedrock of the digital economy, even if most people don't even realize it's there.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. They're working behind the scenes, keeping everything running smoothly.
Okay, so they're reliable, they're secure, they can handle tons of data. But here's the big question that I think a lot of people have. What about the cost? Aren't mainframes just super expensive? I mean, that's what I always hear.
Yeah, that's the common perception, but it's not always the whole truth.
Okay, break that down for me.
A lot of times people just focus on the upfront cost of the hardware.
Yeah, that sticker price can be a little intimidating.
Right. And they might see that the cost of individual processor cores for like an x86 server is cheaper. But they're missing a crucial part of the picture. They're not looking at the total cost of ownership.
So it's kind of like comparing the price of a bus ticket to a plane ticket. Sure, the bus ticket might be cheaper up front, but if you need to get across the country quickly and reliably, that plane ticket starts to look a lot more appealing.
That's a great analogy. It's about more than just the initial price tag.
Got it.
You have to factor in things like software licensing, energy consumption, maintenance, security. When you take all of that into account, the economics of mainframes can actually become much more appealing.
All right, you piqued my interest. Can you dive into some specifics here? How do mainframes actually stack up against other types of systems when it comes to cost? Where do those savings come from?
One of the key factors is something called core compression.
Core compression, what's that?
Basically, mainframes are incredibly efficient at running multiple workloads on a single system. They can often handle the same workload with far fewer processor cores compared to a distributed server setup.
So fewer cores, but how does that translate into actual cost savings?
Well, think about software licensing costs for a second.
Okay.
A lot of software vendors base their pricing on the number of processor cores you're using. So if you can do the same work with fewer cores, you end up needing fewer software licenses. And that can add up to some pretty substantial savings over time.
Interesting. So it's like a chain reaction. You consolidate workloads, you need fewer cores, and then you end up paying less for software licenses.
Exactly. It all ties together.
Okay, makes sense. What about energy consumption, though? Aren't mainframes known for being these big energy hogs?
That's another common myth.
Really?
Yeah, while they are powerful machines, they're also incredibly energy efficient, especially when you consider just how much work they're doing.
Okay.
Plus, by consolidating all those workloads onto a single mainframe, you actually reduce the overall footprint of your data center. You need less space, less power, less cooling.
So fewer servers, less energy, smaller carbon footprint.
I'm liking this more and more.
It's a win-win situation.
Now, there's one more thing I have to ask about security. Aren't mainframes like a prime target for hackers? I mean, they're handling all this sensitive data.
Actually, it's the opposite. Mainframes have a long history of being some of the most secure computing platforms out there.
Interesting.
They have all sorts of built-in security features at the hardware level, which makes them incredibly tough to hack.
So it's like having Fort Knox for your data.
That's a good way to put it. And that enhanced security can save you a lot of money and headaches in the long run.
Makes sense. Right. So far, we've talked about cost savings, energy efficiency, and security. And it seems like mainframes have a lot to offer in all of those areas. And we've only just scratched the surface.
Okay, well, I'm definitely ready to dig deeper. Okay, so we've established that mainframes aren't these, dinosaurs that some people think they are. They're secure, they're efficient, and maybe even surprisingly cost-effective. But I'm curious, how do they actually work in the real world? What kind of organizations are using mainframes these days? And what are they actually using them for?
You'll find mainframes powering a huge range of industries, everything from finance and government to healthcare and retail.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, think about the companies and organizations you interact with on a daily basis. Chances are a lot of them are relying on mainframes in some way.
That's interesting. Give me some specific examples. What are some real-world use cases for mainframes today?
Well, let's take the financial industry, for example. Every time you use your credit card or an ATM, there's a good chance a mainframe is involved in processing that transaction.
Wow.
They can handle millions of transactions per second with incredible speed and accuracy.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is. They're like the silent workhorses behind our entire financial system.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. What about other industries, though? Where else do mainframes play a critical role?
Well, think about airlines, for example. They use mainframes to manage their reservation systems, baggage handling, even flight scheduling.
Hmm.
These are complex operations with tons of data, and they require a level of reliability that's just unmatched. Mainframes are built for that kind of stuff.
It's amazing how much we depend on mainframes without even realizing it. I mean, they're kind of like the unsung heroes of the digital age.
I think that's a fair assessment.
So if they're so great, why do we hear more about them? I mean, everybody these days is talking about the cloud.
Well, that's a good question, and you're right. There's been a ton of hype around cloud computing. And for good reason, it offers a lot of flexibility and scalability,
Yeah.
but it's not necessarily the best solution for everything.
Okay.
Mainframes and the cloud can actually work really well together in what's called a hybrid approach.
Hybrid approach.
Yeah.
How does that work?
You can think of it like this. You use the cloud for things like web applications, mobile services, things that need that flexibility, but you keep your core mission-critical workloads on the mainframe where you need that rock-solid reliability and security.
So it's not like an either-or situation.
Exactly. It's about choosing the right tool for the right job.
Got it. And here's another question I have. With all the talk about artificial intelligence and machine learning these days, do mainframes even have a place in that future? I mean, does that technology even apply to mainframes?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, mainframes are incredibly well suited for AI and machine learning workloads.
Really? I wouldn't have guessed that.
They have the processing power, the memory capacity, and the data security that these technologies demand.
Yeah.
You can even run AI models directly on the mainframe close to where all the data is stored, which can significantly improve performance and efficiency.
So it's not just about handling transactions anymore. Mainframes are evolving and adapting to the latest tech trends.
Exactly. They're not just surviving, they're thriving in this new landscape.
That's really fascinating. But what about the cost of keeping up with all this innovation? Isn't it expensive to modernize a mainframe environment?
It's true that modernization requires some investment, but it's an investment that can pay off big time in the long run.
Okay, how does so?
Modernizing your mainframe can lead to significant cost savings, better performance, and even enhanced security.
So it's not just about keeping up with the Joneses. There are tangible benefits to modernizing your mainframe infrastructure.
Exactly.
Can you give me some specific examples of how organizations can actually do this? How can they modernize their mainframes in a way that makes sense from a cost perspective?
Sure. One approach is to leverage new technologies like containers and microservices.
Containers and microservices, those sound familiar.
Yeah, they're really popular right now, and for good reason. Basically, they allow you to take these big monolithic applications and break them down into smaller, more manageable components.
Kind of like modular building blocks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This makes it easier to update and deploy those applications.
So it's like taking a big, bulky piece of software and making it more agile and flexible.
Exactly. And that can significantly reduce development costs and speed up the time it takes to get new features and services to market.
Makes sense. And it also makes it easier to integrate the mainframe with other platforms like the cloud, right?
Absolutely.
It all ties together.
Speaking of integration, I've heard this term Linux on Z being thrown around. What exactly is that, and how does it relate to mainframe modernization?
So Linux on Z is basically running the Linux operating system on a mainframe.
Okay.
It's become a really popular approach because it lets organizations use all those familiar open source tools and technologies on a platform that's known for its rock-solid reliability and security.
So you get the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
That's really interesting. What are some other cost-saving strategies that organizations can use to really get the most out of their mainframe investments?
One key strategy is to really think carefully about where you're running your workloads.
Okay.
Not all workloads are created equal.
Some are a perfect fit for the mainframe, while others might be better suited for the cloud or a distributed server environment.
So it's about choosing the right platform for the right job.
Exactly. And by doing that, you can maximize efficiency and minimize costs.
Makes sense. So there's a lot to consider when it comes to mainframe economics. It's not just about the hardware. It's about the software, the workloads, the overall strategy.
You got it.
How can organizations navigate all these complexities and make informed decisions about their IT infrastructure?
Well, one valuable resource is IBM.
Right.
They have a ton of experience in this space, and they offer a range of services and solutions that are specifically designed to help organizations get the most out of their mainframe investments.
Like Okada services.
Well, for example, they offer these total cost of ownership studies that can help you analyze your specific workloads and compare different platform options.
So it's like a personalized cost-benefit analysis for your IT infrastructure.
Exactly. And that can be really helpful in making data-driven decisions about where to run your applications.
Makes sense. What else do they offer?
They also have experts who can help you optimize your mainframe environment, modernize your applications, implement those cost-saving strategies we were talking about.
So they're like a one-stop shop for all things mainframe.
You could say that.
This is all incredibly insightful. We've gone from thinking mainframes were practically extinct to seeing how they're not just alive and kicking, but they're actually evolving to play a crucial role in the future of computing.
It's been an amazing journey for sure.
Yeah, and it seems like we're just getting started. So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about core compression, energy efficiency, hybrid cloud strategies, even the role of mainframes in AI and machine learning. It's clear that these systems are far from obsolete.
Absolutely. They have this incredible ability to adapt and evolve to meet the challenges of our digital world.
Yeah, and I think we've successfully debunked that myth of the outdated mainframe. But let's bring it back to our listeners for a second. Why should someone who's not a tech expert care about all of this mainframe stuff? What's the key takeaway for the average person?
That's a great question. I think for me, understanding mainframe economics helps us appreciate just how complex the systems are that power our everyday lives. It also challenges that assumption that newer technology is always better. Sometimes the best solutions are the ones that have been refined and optimized over decades.
Yeah, it's about looking beyond the hype and understanding the real value proposition. Mainframes might not be flashy or trendy, but they get the job done.
Yeah.
And they do it reliably, securely, and cost-effectively.
Exactly. And as we keep generating more and more data, as the demand for computing power keeps growing, I think mainframes are going to play an even more important role in the future.
So we've talked about the cost savings, the security benefits, the reliability. But what about the future of mainframes? Where do you see this technology going in the next 5, 10, maybe even 20 years?
Now, that's a fascinating question to consider. I think we're going to see mainframes continue to evolve. They'll integrate with all these emerging technologies like quantum computing, edge computing. They'll become even more powerful and even more efficient, capable of handling workloads that we can't even imagine today.
So you're saying mainframes aren't going anywhere anytime soon?
Not a chance. They're here to stay. And I think we're all going to be surprised by the innovative ways they're used to solve some of the world's biggest challenges.
This has been a truly eye-opening conversation.
Right.
We started off thinking about these big, clunky machines, and now we're talking about the future of computing. It's been quite a journey.
It really has.
So to our listeners out there, we hope you found this deep dive into mainframe economics informative and engaging. If you're interested in exploring more fascinating topics like this, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Topictrick. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.